Hi there everyone. Today I'm going to show you how to make this really delicious American goulash. When I was a kid growing up, my mother made this, but it didn't really have a name. I had never heard a name of it. She just would make this. And so what this is it's an American style goulash where everything goes together. You have pasta. And the difference between a Hungarian goulash and an American one is the American one has ground beef in it. And so we have other items like parsley and bay leaves, and it's really delicious. And it's one of those meals that it can stretch if you have a big family. Because like I said, I come from a family of 5 kids, and my mother made this, and she would just kind of put it all together in a big pot, and it's really delicious. So I hope you enjoy this. These are all the ingredients you're going to use for this goulash. You're going to have a bell pepper. You can have any type, red, green, whatever you want. You're going to have garlic, onion. You're going to have a couple of bay leaves, fresh parsley or dried parsley. We're going to use 1 pound of ground beef. We're going to have tomato sauce, tomato paste, and diced or stewed tomatoes. And you're going to have macaroni pasta. However, you can use any kind of pasta. It doesn't have to be macaroni, but that's the standard that's been used. Italian seasoning, and a few bay leaves. So the exact amounts will be under the video in the description. So I'm going to cut up a whole onion, and it calls for 2 cloves of garlic, but I probably have 4 here. I really like garlic a lot. So I do always maybe use a few cloves more than what it actually calls for. But 2 cloves, if that's what you have, whatever you want, because you're the one that's tasting what you want to have. So I'm doing there's probably 3 or 4 cloves here of garlic. And then I'm going to chop up 1 whole onion. I'm using a white onion today. You can use any type of onion you want. I'm just going to use my white onion. Okay, so I'm going to finish cutting this up. So after you have your onions and your garlic all chopped up, you're going to use probably 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley. It kind of gives it color. Kind of like a garnish in it, basically. And then I'm going to, it calls for 1 whole bell pepper, but this is kind of a large one, so I'm not going to use the whole thing. I'm just going to chop this up into small little pieces, about like this, just however you want. And then I'll have all my vegetables chopped up with it, which are the onions, the garlic, bell pepper, and a little bit of parsley. We're going to salt and pepper our meat before we cook it. And if you think you need a little more while it's in the pan, you can do that. So I'm just going to let the meat set. The recipe says to cook the onions, garlic, and the meat together, but I like to do it separately. So I'm going to cook the onions and garlic first, and then I'm going to do the meat afterwards. I heat my burner on kind of a 2, and I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil, probably 1.5 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add the onions and the garlic. And I'm going to kind of saute these kind of low because I don't want the garlic to burn. So this is like an extra large skillet that I have here. You can use a Dutch oven if you want. I just have this very large skillet. That's why it's going to fit everything in it, so I'm choosing to use this. So I'm just going to saute these onions and garlic probably about 3 minutes. So I went a little longer than I really wanted to, but it's okay. I kind of cooked these a little too high, but it doesn't matter. It's just as long as they're soft, that's the main issue. So we're going to transfer these out. Okay, now we're going to chunk this up and cook it thoroughly all the way through. And as soon as we're done cooking it, we'll put the onions and garlic back in with it. We salted and peppered the top of the hamburger meat, so now I'm just going to put a little more salt, and this will kind of cover the inside of it. And if you want, you can add a little garlic powder, which it doesn't call for, but I'm going to add. I always like to add a little bit of garlic powder because I think it just adds a little more flavor, even though it has garlic in it. Okay, our beef is all cooked, and there's no oil. I put a little bit of olive oil in the pan to cook it, and there's no oil left at all. This was kind of a lean hamburger meat. So now we're going to put all of our ingredients in right now. So first we'll add the bell pepper and parsley. And then I'm going to add the onions I cooked with the garlic. And if you want to cook it all together with the hamburger meat, by all means, go ahead and do it. I just prefer to do it this way. And it calls for 1 3/4 cup of either water or beef broth. And my mother never used beef broth for this, and I'm not going to. I just have a little bit of beef broth left over, probably less than 1/4 cup, so I mixed it with the water. And then there's tomatoes in a can that you're going to pour in, and the amounts will be in the description. My ratios are a little different. But it's all tomatoes, so it doesn't matter. And then I'm going to add my tomato paste in. And I'm going to add my Italian seasoning and 2 bay leaves. And they're small bay leaves. So we're going to mix all this together and put it on medium. And we're going to cook this for about 15 minutes. I'm cooking this a little longer than 15 minutes. It doesn't say you have to, but I'm the type that likes to cook my sauces a little longer. And I tasted it, and I just wanted to add a little more. I'm actually adding a seasoning called marjoram, and it's in Italian seasoning. It's one of the herbs that's in it, but I really like the way it tastes and smells. So I'm adding a little more of that. And 15 minutes, I'm gonna kind of let this cook for about 30. So once you have your sauce how you want it, you're going to add your macaroni. And the really neat thing about this is the macaroni cooks in the sauce. So you're going to put 1.25 cups of macaroni and let it cook for about 20 minutes. You want to stir this halfway through, kind of, to keep an eye on it, and then you keep the lid on it. It's done. This is exactly what it'll look like when it's done. It's really, really a tasty dish, and there's quite a bit of it, so this is going to last for a long time here. So let's serve some up. Before you serve it, you're going to want to remove your bay leaves, and there's 2 of them, and I'm lucky that I see them both right here. So you'll remove the bay leaves. They've done their job. Okay, everyone, it's done. It's very, very hot. Another option, if you choose, you can add like a cheddar cheese or a mozzarella cheese on this. I am not going to put cheese on it, but it's totally up to you. My mom never put cheese on it, but you could, and it would be kind of like a very kind of mild macaroni and cheese in a way. So it sounds good, but it's just not something that I've had this with. So anyway, let's give it a try. Really very tomatoey and flavorful. I think I am going to add Parmesan cheese on it. I think it would add something to this. This particular recipe says like mozzarella or cheddar, but whatever you want. And this seems like, I think Parmesan cheese in the jar would be really, really good. This is really, really hometown cooking here. So, if you want something simple that's really good and hearty, that you can stretch also if you have a family, I think you ought to give this a try. I hope it turns out wonderful for you.